Hi everyone, my name is Cheryl and this is my FlossTube channel for stitching and all other types of creative endeavors that I get up to during a week's time, a couple weeks' time. So thank you to everyone who is coming back to my channel. I really do appreciate you and all of your comments. And for anyone who is new, my name is Cheryl and I live in the foothills of Alberta. I'm a multi-crafter, but this channel focuses on my cross-stitch. So from last time's video, there were a lot of comments regarding my discussion of coats in Canada. So in Canada, we wear lots of different coats in the winter. And I mentioned we have coats for all the different weather ranges. And then Lorraine, one of my constant commenters, mentioned that the same thing goes with boots. And that's true. We have boots for ice, we have boots for cold, we have boots for outdoor chores and snowshoeing. We have a lot of boots. And I thought I would share with you the boot that in Canada, if someone says it was so cold, I needed my sorels, this is what they mean. These are sorels. So it is a boot that works to like -40. And the reason it works is that it has a heavy rubber sole, and then it has inside a 1/2 inch felted lining. As a teacher, these were my supervision boots. So if I had to go out on supervision on a cold day, these were the boots that I wore. And these are also the boots that go in the car if we ever have to travel in cold weather. So, sorels. Hopefully no one needed their sorels this week. So I have several fully finished objects to show you today. I've noticed that in stitching, I get all of my goals accomplished. You know, I have challenges that I follow. I have certain days for certain projects, certain amounts, but there are other parts of my crafting life that aren't as productive. And so I decided that in my studio time, I would make Friday fully finish objects Friday. And 1 week down, it really worked. Okay, so I'll just work from the top of the pile. And for Valentine's Day. So I finished this little piece. This is called San Valentino. And it's from Crescentando at Serrazzo at alice.it. So it's an Italian designer. And I did this one for winter cross-stitch camp through Colorado Cross Stitcher. So the challenge for that group is to fully finish, or not to fully finish, but to fully stitch a one color project for winter cross-stitch camp. And I thought this was just a sweet little piece. So when I was finishing it, I did the back as well. And I did a Lori Holt style heart where she interfaces it and turns it to get the nice edge. Well, when I did that, I found I had a little pocket. And I thought, well, what can I put in the pocket? And I found either my mother's or grandmother's little handkerchief. So I put that in. So a good way to get that out of storage and using it. So I'm ready to hang that one up today for Valentine's Day. Next thing I finished was this little ornament, and this is called the Robin's Gift. And it was in the Just CrossStitch Christmas Ornaments magazine 2021. It's by the Little Stitcher. And so I finished it very similar to how it was shown in the magazine. This next project had been in my to finish pile for a long time. In fact, it shows I finished it in 2021. So this is Letters and Leaves by Aida. And this is part of one of the red samplers that I've been wanting to make. Another project that was finished in 2021 was Merry Christmas by Hello from Liz Matthews. And my focus this year in quilting has really been on scrap quilting. And I found this technique called stained glass technique. So I thought I would do that for this bag. And inside it's just patchwork because I'm really trying to use up all my scraps, which will never happen, but it's a worthy goal. And then for my followers who have been with me a long time, you know I was working on Meteo 2021 by Jardin Prive, which shows the high and low temperatures for where I live. And originally I thought I might make this as a sewing machine cover, but it just wasn't working. So I've made it into a huge project bag. And this is the project bag I'm going to use to house my temperature of the day project. And that way, as I'm working on a certain day of the month, I can refer back to this and see what the weather was like a year ago or 2 years ago. So I'm really happy with that. And again, I'm using that fabric that I really didn't care for, but I love now that I have a piece of stitching on it. So that's that, all ready to go. So those were all of my fully finished objects. And then I have one that is just a finish. So I finished the mini bouquet number 2. This is a Jeanette Douglas design. She's very graciously been giving one of these a month for us to work on. There is a template so that you can put all of these into a sampler. I've been doing them individually. But love that. Nice. It's nice to have a monthly sale that is really, that you can really accomplish in the month without too much difficulty. And I'll wait till I have them, I'll have more done before I decide what I'm actually going to do for finishing them. So that's the Jeanette Douglas designs. You can find that on her website. Now, before I show you the projects I'm working on, I'm going to share just a little piece of happy mail. My friend Georgie, she loves to send cards and postcards to family and friends. She's also an artist, so sometimes her cards have her own images on them. They're wonderful. Thank you, Georgie. I appreciate the sentiment as well. So, what I've worked on so far in February. In Semi-Sane Stitchers, they had a challenge this month called It's Bappening. And a BAP is a big, awesome project, or you can choose your own A word for that. And in this challenge, each week, you put 1,000 stitches into a piece that I believe was more than, 200 by 200. I can't remember the exact requirements. But then there were prompts for each part of it. So I don't actually have that many really big projects, and this was the one that would fit to all of the prompts the best. And this is Long Dog Samplers Hoity Toity. I love this. This was my New Year start, and it is on 32 count antique white Lugana. I'm using the called for colors. And so, like I said, I started it January 1st, and then so far this month I've put in 1,000 stitches the first week. For the prompt, it had a fantastical object or creature, and in this pattern there's these wild kind of peacocks there, so I use that. And then the next week tells a story. Well, on the Long Dog Sampler website, she talks about these peacocks making a huge mess, and so I'm using that. So I will be continuing to work on this for 2 more weeks, so another 2,000 stitches. So I'm almost at the end of the page. So this is the end of the page here, and if I go up a little bit, I'll have the first page done on this. Love it. I love this sampler. It's I like when you can do, one of the motifs and then another. There are quite a few color changes, but then you have big stretches where you can fill in black or fill in with another color. So this one is working for me. I really, really enjoy it. All right, the next one that I worked on, and this was one of my Whip Go pieces, and I also using it for Stitch the Olympics. So Whip Go is from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. It's a Facebook group that you can join, and I've been working on Spring 1881, and this is by Twin Peak Primitives. And this was in the Primitive Stitching, Punch Needle and Primitive Stitching magazine, Spring 2020. And I have a good chunk done. So that's 5 hours of that one. And it, like I mentioned, it's also on Stitch the Olympics. That's an Instagram group started by the Nap Time Stitcher. So go ahead and see what's on that one. So one of my big projects for the year is Changing Seasons by Fox and Rabbit Design. This is a monthly mystery stitch along, and I'm still working on January. This is a huge project. It's 360 by 360. I have one side completely finished. One border on one side completely finished. So I think what I'm going to do next, I'm going to do my counting. There's another inside border that looks just like this. Then there's another single border, and then there's the motif for the middle that was the February release. And I would like to I'd like to get into the more of the design part rather than the border, and then work on the design and a little bit of border, design, border, just so that it breaks up the boredom of the border. But it's a beautiful border. This is a 32 count Belfast Natural, and I'm using 3790 on it. And I'll be choosing my color palette for this other designs this month as well. Something else that I've been using in different challenges is my Prairie Schooler Santa. So it's coming along really well. This could be a finish easily this month, which would be great. This is my first one that I've done, and I have, I think, 3 or 4 more in my project bag. So that would be great to have that on its way out. All right, another one that I use, this one for Olympic stitching. This is Real Comfort, a Jane Austen sampler. And one of the Stitch the Olympic challenges was to use one of the ring colors. So I chose black for the Olympic rings, and I worked on this one. And then we needed a project with an animal. So I used Noble Companions. This is in Christmas Portraits, Leisure Arts Magazine, 1991. And I just worked over here on the bag of toys. I'm loving this, hoping to have it done by Christmas. And it looks like this. So I'm about there, which is great. Another sal that I'm working on, this is a weekly sal. This is the Peppermint Purple 2022 Blackwork sal. I'm doing this colorway here. And this one's weekly. So every week you get a new blackwork design for the middle. And then now that most of my other challenges are done for February, I'll go back and start to work on the border as well. So every Wednesday I get a new little block, and it's easy to get the block done in under an hour. Loving that. I'd never done black work before, and I really enjoy it. So this is a project you've been seeing for a long while. This is Watermelon Tourmaline by Carolyn Manning Designs. This was my 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week project, but I moved hoity-toity into that position so that I could get the 1,000 stitches a week into it. This one wasn't quite big enough for the It's Bappening challenge, and also really couldn't fit into the prompts. But whenever I finished, I finished my 1,000 stitches for hoity-toity earlier in the week. So for the rest of the days of the week, I work on this for 30 minutes. It was 25/7 originally as the challenge, but it was just easier on my timer to do 30 minutes. So my temperature project for this year is Temperature Library #1. This is by Christie's Corner. She's on Etsy. And I finished up the January, and I'm up to date on February. Tomorrow on the next book that comes up, I'm going to put a heart for Valentine's Day. So as you can see by this, it's been warm relative for Alberta. So all of this yellow, that's all above zero temperatures. So it's been really warm for us. It's been great. Great for, driving and walking around and all of that, but our farmland is really getting very dry, which is not a good thing. So why challenges? So for me, the challenges are like playing a game with myself. I don't do any challenges for prizes. That's not my consideration. I do it so that I am inspired maybe to work on projects that aren't my favorite or that I need to get back to. And this next one is one of those cases. So people who've been following know that I was working on my own sampler. So a sampler that I'm designing for myself, showing my life. And I had a nice spray of Alberta wild roses here that were too far out. So one of my challenges for Magazine Monthly Challenge, again on Facebook, I ripped out all of the flower. And then this church was all outlined with black, and the door was black and windows were black. it was too stark, so I ripped all of that out, and now I've started to restitch it. So for this the challenge was good because it got me to spend time on a project that was in timeout. All right, so I think those are all my projects. Just checking my book here. Yes. So for the rest of February, I'm going to continue to work on Hoity Toity to get 2,000 more stitches into that. I have Holy Night to work on. This is a Barbara Anna design that was in Primitive Stitch. You know which one I mean. Primitive Stitching and Punch Needle magazine. So you'll see that the next time. That will have 5 hours on it. My blackwork design will have 2 more blocks completed. I'm going to work on changing seasons, keep working on that border, count in, see how I can manage with that to work into the center. And then I'll just choose some projects, put it on a tiny decisions wheel, and play the game with my brain that way of, gee, what do I get to stitch today? So the next project I'm going to show is a link between stitching and quilting. So I decided to do some wool applique. There was a pattern that I found at one of our Ujama Grandma Fabric and Yarn sales. And this is called Gordy's Gang. And this is in different wool felts. So I purchased this kit, and the kits are really inexpensive at our Fabric and Yarn sale. And I'll be sure to tell all of our local people about the sale. It's going to be at the end of April, beginning of May in Calgary. So if you are any kind of a crafter sewer, you'll want to come. We have great product at reasonable prices. So I'll show you what I've done so far. There it is. I love it. I have done all of the stitching on top of each pumpkin, so you can see that one is complete. What I need to do next is do the blanket stitch around all of these pieces. And so that's going to be my next job for this. And then this will go into our fall sale, our Bags, Babies, and Beyond event that's in October. And you'll be able to purchase this at that sale. So that's wool applique. I love it. I think I might do a lot more wool applique. All right, bag making. So I'm part of a group called the Ujama Baguettes, and we have bag patterns on Etsy that you can purchase, and we make up the bags, and then we also sell the bags at our Bags, Babies, and Beyond event in October. So I'll show you 3 of the bags that I've made so far. Now 2 of them are for myself. So this is the money bag. And this is the bag that I carry all the time. It is a crossbody bag that is like carrying your wallet. There's a zipper in the back. There's a zipper on top. There is a place where you could put paper money, and there's also a card slot, so you can put all of the cards that you use there. And then there's also another zipper here, big enough for a smaller phone. the phone I have is a smaller one, and that fits very well into that. So then the next one I made from a vinyl. It's got a bit of a sparkle in it. Just really simple. And this one actually had the same fabric on the inside. So when I made these, I batch sewed. I actually made 2 of these, one for myself, one for the sale. This one is for myself. And then I made this one for the sale as well. Again, lots of compartments. This is a great travel bag when you don't want to have anything that you put down. So I haven't finished this one with the strap because I can't decide whether I go with a bright red strap or if I go with a green strap. So why don't you tell me, red or green? What do you think? I don't know. You can decide for me which one. So this is, like I said, it's called the Money Bag. It's available on Etsy at Ujama Baguettes. It is a good pattern for sort of first-time bag makers. You don't need a special machine or anything. You can use your domestic machine and it'll sew up really well. I finished another bag for Ujama Baguettes for a test for a new pattern. And I can't show it to you, but next time the pattern will be released and I can share that one with you. Similar function in the size of the bag and how it's laid up on the inside, but a different style on the outside. So I think it's great. Okay, so like I mentioned, quilting, I've been focusing on scraps. So I mentioned how my studio calendar is kind of set up now the way my cross stitching is set up. So I've worked it so that Mondays are things that I make for Ujamagrammas. Now it can be anything. It could be a bag, it could be gift bags, it could be this wall hanging, anything that I think will go to the Ujamagramma sale Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday is bag making. So if I have a bag that needs to be made for a test, or if there's been a challenge for bags, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I can work on whatever I want to. Friday is fully finished object Friday. Now, if those are all done, then I have the day to make whatever I want. Saturdays and Sundays are scrappy. So I've been working on scrappy quilts. And I love it. Like, scrappy quilts are really my favorite kind of quilting. So I have one that I'm working on called From the Snowflake pattern. And I'll show some pictures here of what the pattern looks like and what the block looks like. So Snowflake, I'm using all my really deep purples and blues for this quilt, and then my whites and creams for the snowflake part. So that's a really good scrap buster for those colors. And then the other quilt I'm doing is from this website. I think it's called I'd Rather Be Quilting Than Housework, or something like that. I'll put the title down. And that one is using all my deep green scraps, which is coming along great. And I've been busy sorting scraps by color, and I'm just hoping to work through those piles of colors and see what else I can make. My goal for the next couple of weeks is to completely finish my Temecula Mini Monday quilt, and I'll put the top pattern up here. So this was a weekly pattern from the Temecula Quilt Company that was out last year. Again, I used all my different scraps. I love it, and I'd like to get it all finished and quilted and bound for you. So those are my plans. I will be very busy, both in my stitching chair and in my sewing studio, and I'll report back to you on how those things came out. I have a YouTube recommendation I'd like to tell you about. So I discovered pigtail quilting and stitching this week. And if you need some eye candy, this is the video to watch. The creator shares how she uses quilts to decorate in her home. And it's beautiful. The way she layers quilts in her bedroom. She hangs quilts in her bathroom. It's beautiful. She also has some videos on organizing quilting. So you can see how she organizes her yardage and fat quarters. It's beautiful. If you just want to kind of sit back and enjoy some beautiful quilts, this is really a great channel to watch. She is stitching as well, but it's mainly a quilting channel. So that's pigtail quilting and stitching. Love it. And I have a few book recommendations. First one is O. William, and this is by Elizabeth Strout. And it focuses on, well, the person telling the story is Lucy Barton, and Elizabeth Strout has another book about Lucy Barton. You don't need to read Lucy Barton first to enjoy this novel. But if you enjoy O. William, you might want to go back and read Lucy Barton. Lucy Barton is kind of a hard read, and again, it's about a young girl growing up in a dysfunctional family, similar like to The Glass Castle, that kind of an upbringing, I would say. O. William, we find Lucy Barton is now a successful author, and William is her first husband, who is also the father of her 2 children, and how their relationship changes over time. It was very, very interesting read. The next one I finished was called 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in This Strange World. And this book is about a woman in Istanbul who, again, most books are written about dysfunctional families, it seems, ends up in Istanbul as a prostitute and is murdered. And the 10 minutes, 38 seconds is a time between life and death where she thinks about her 5 friends. And so 5 different friends are introduced, and we hear their stories. It really a touching book. We learn a lot about how different people feel alone, and how a friendship can really make things much better. And then the last one I finished, I'm going to do a better job of finding out how I get my book recommendations, because the next book I read is called Out of My Heart. This was by Sharon M. Draper, And it's the second novel about a young girl named Melody. She's 12 years old. She has cerebral palsy and is unable to communicate vocally except through her machine called Elvira. And it was really a great story. If you like to read junior fiction, juvenile fiction, this is great. Or you could recommend it to a child or grandchild that you know is interested in other people's lives. So this was really interesting, you know, as a former teacher, to hear how, you know, children with special needs think and feel about the circumstances they are in. In this case, Melody is able to go to a camp that caters to children with that need special accommodations. And it's touching, it's lovely, it was a great book. You know, it was a lucky find, easy to read, you know, simple. So that's it. That's been my last couple of weeks. It's been great. Oh, I should mention the quilt behind me. So this is a quilt that I didn't make. This was made by one of the guild members, Gwyneth. Gwyneth is a master quilter. And a couple of years ago, she made this quilt, and we raffled it off in our guild to support the quilters who lived in the Fort McMurray area of Alberta. Fort McMurray had a devastating fire. It destroyed hundreds of homes. Luckily, there were no casualties or deaths from the fire, but people had to rebuild. And so we contacted a guild in Fort McMurray and sent them a nice check to help them with rebuilding anything that some of their quilters might need, whether it be sewing machines or fabric, or to bring in special speakers to give them a treat. And so I was the lucky recipient of this quilt. It has an Asian feel to it. It has many different kinds of fabrics in it, including some Japanese obi fabric as well. So I love it. And this time of year, near Valentine's Day, it is just the perfect quilt. Thank you, everyone, for being with me today. I hope you saw something you liked or inspired to do something. Enjoy your week. Please like and subscribe. Remember, I need to know what color strap to put on that bag. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.